Deep divers, welcome back to the show. It's time for another deep dive, and today we're talking serious cash, folks. We're diving headfirst into the world of the top 10 richest people on the planet as of right now, this very moment, September 2024. And before you think we're chasing some get-rich-quick fantasy here, let me stop you right there. This isn't about shortcuts. It's about patterns and industries, maybe even those personality traits, the ones that kind of nudge people towards those billion-dollar fortunes. And let me tell you, this world of mega wealth, it's less of a solid gold pyramid and more like one of those wobbly Jenga towers, one wrong move and bam, everything changes. Just look at Bezos and Bernard Arnault going back and forth for #2 spot recently proves it.
Yeah, it really is like capturing lightning in a bottle, isn't it? I mean, imagine your net worth swinging by billions. Not over a year, not even a month, but like in a single day. Makes you wonder how'd you sleep at night, right?
Oh, absolutely. Talk about a wild ride. It's like every time Elon Musk tweets Tesla's stock goes on a roller coaster and suddenly everyone's redoing the math on his net worth again. But hey, speaking of Mr. Musk, let's get this list rolling, shall we? At the very top, with a cool $233 billion, we've got Bernard Arnault and family. They've turned luxury into an art form, my friend, with brands like Louis Vuitton. You know, those handbags that cost more than a car. Yeah, they're the tastemakers for the ultra-rich.
It really shows you how many paths there are to that kind of wealth, though, right? It's not all Silicon Valley and tech startups as much as it might seem that way sometimes. In fact, I think 8 out of our top 10 this time around built their fortunes in the tech world.
You're not kidding. It's a tech takeover. And speaking of which, coming in at number 2 with $195 billion and probably a Twitter notification or two, it's Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX. The man's practically synonymous with pushing boundaries.
He really embodies that entrepreneurial spirit, doesn't he?
Wow.
But it's more than that. It's the risk tolerance, the sheer audacity of it all.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Not just dipping your toes in the water, but diving head first. And speaking of diving head first, we can't forget Jeff Bezos, holding strong at number 3 with $194 billion. He's the mastermind behind Amazon, which, let's be real, has become an essential part of most of our lives. But here's the kicker. He stepped down from Amazon. Could you walk away from that kind of empire? I mean, just walk away?
It says a lot about what drives someone like that, doesn't it? It's not just about building something huge. It's about the constant pursuit of innovation, shaking things up. These folks don't just see the world as it is. They see what it could be.
And they're not afraid to get their hands dirty making it happen. Which brings us to Mark Zuckerberg at number 4 with $177 billion. Now, Facebook's had its share of controversy, that's for sure. But love it or hate it, Zuckerberg tapped into something huge. The power of online connections in a digital age.
And that's something we can't ignore, the ripple effect of these fortunes. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but their influence goes way beyond their bank accounts. We're talking whole industries, global economies, even how we interact as a society.
You're absolutely right. It's bigger than just the bottom line. And speaking of seeing the future, Larry Ellison at number 5 with $181 billion. His investment strategy is something else. He built Oracle into a tech giant. No question. But here's the thing. A huge chunk of his wealth is tied to, you guessed it, Tesla stock. Talk about betting big on someone else's vision.
It's like he's saying, I trust this guy to change the world, and putting his money where his mouth is.
Maybe he's hoping for a free ticket on that SpaceX flight to Mars.
Yeah.
Who knows? But seriously, it makes you think about the different ways to build wealth and, more importantly, how to hold on to it. Up next, we're talking about the OG investor himself, Warren Buffett, holding steady at $142.7 billion. Berkshire Hathaway, it's not just a company, it's like the ultimate investment portfolio built over decades.
Buffett is all about patience, isn't he? Long-term vision and knowing what something is truly worth. He's not chasing trends. He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
That's a great way to put it. But before we get too distracted by Buffett's brilliance, we've got another dynamic duo to talk about. Coming in at number 7 and 8, we've got the Google guys, Larry Page with $137.9 billion and Sergey Brin right behind him at $132 billion. Remember when Google was just that new search engine everyone thought was kind of cool?
And now look at them practically running the internet.
It makes you wonder what the next Google is going to be, doesn't it? What's brewing out there that's going to create the billionaires of tomorrow? But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got a few more billionaires to cover. Speaking of which, let's talk about Bill Gates at number 9 with $133.3 billion. Made his fortune with Microsoft, but these days he's all about using that wealth to make the world a better place with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Which brings up a really interesting point about this level of wealth philanthropy. Is it obligation, a desire to give back, or maybe something more strategic?
It's a tough question, right? On the one hand, you've got incredible generosity changing the world for the better, But then there's that thought in the back of your mind, is it truly altruism when there are tax breaks and good PR involved?
Yeah.
It's complicated. And to round out our top 10, we've got Steve Ballmer at number 10, enjoying life with $126.5 billion.
Whoa.
Microsoft certainly set him up for life, but hey, owning the LA Clippers doesn't hurt either.
It's a good reminder that for these folks, wealth isn't just about the money, it's about the freedom. The freedom to pursue their passions, to invest in what matters to them, to leave a mark on the world.
It's like they've reached a point where money is just a tool, not the goal itself. It's really something else, right? These folks, they're playing on a whole other level.
It really makes you think about ambition in a whole new light, doesn't it?
No kidding. I mean, we're over here setting goals like planning a vacation or hoping for a promotion. And these guys are launching rockets into space, tackling global pandemics. It's like their ambition has its own gravitational pull or something.
And let's not forget the elephant in the room risk. You can't get to that level of success without taking some chances that would make most people break out in hives.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Bezos left a perfectly good job to start Amazon in his garage. And Musk poured his entire fortune into Tesla when electric cars were practically a science experiment.
Exactly. Those weren't decisions made on a whim. Those were calculated risks backed by a vision they believed in.
And an uncanny ability to see the potential in something before anyone else, like Zuckerberg and Facebook. I mean, seriously, the guy created a global social network when most of us were still trying to figure out how to dial up to the internet. What do you think it was about that moment that he tapped into so perfectly?
Well, timing is everything, of course.
Yeah.
But I think Zuckerberg understood something about us humans. We crave connection. We want to share our lives and be part of a community. And he saw how the internet could do that on a scale never seen before.
And he wasn't afraid to dive in head first, even if it meant breaking a few things or maybe bending a few privacy rules along the way.
That's right. That willingness to disrupt, to challenge the way things are done, that's a common thread among these folks.
But it's not always about being the first one through the door, is it? Look at Warren Buffett. He's all about patience and long-term strategy, understanding the true value of something.
Buffett is a masterclass in playing the long game. He's not chasing the latest fad. He's looking for solid companies with real potential for growth.
It's like he's playing chess while everyone else is stuck in a checkers match. But hey, different approaches, different styles, all leading to the same place, extraordinary success. And speaking of different approaches, we can't forget Larry Ellison and his rather large bet on Elon Musk. We talked about his Tesla stock holdings. But seriously, to put that much of your own wealth into another company, that's some serious trust.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You can almost see Ellison's thought process. He sees Musk as someone who's not just pushing boundaries, but redrawing the entire map, and he wants in...
Well, if it gets him a front row seat on that SpaceX flight to Mars, I can't say I blame him. But on a more serious note, it really highlights something crucial about building wealth, the ability to see the potential in other people's ideas.
Absolutely. We get so caught up in our own heads sometimes that we forget to look around and see the brilliance that might be right in front of us.
So true. It's a good reminder that collaboration and shared vision can be just as powerful as going it alone. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about another thing we see with these ultra-wealthy folks' philanthropy. We mentioned Bill Gates and the incredible work he's doing, but it seems like every billionaire eventually gets bitten by the philanthropy bug. So what's the deal? Is it a sense of obligation, wanting to give back, or is there something more strategic at play?
It's a really interesting question, isn't it? And I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer. For some, it's definitely about making a difference, using their wealth to tackle the issues they care about.
Like they've reached a point where it's not about accumulating more, it's about making a real impact.
Exactly. But would be naive to think there weren't some strategic elements involved as well. Philanthropy can be a powerful tool for shaping your public image, influencing policy, even getting some tax breaks. It's not always a simple case of pure altruism versus self-interest.
It's a real head-scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you see these huge donations saving lives and funding important research.
Yeah.
But then there's that voice in the back of your head wondering, is this about changing the world or just improving their image?
It's a valid question, and it leads to a bigger conversation about wealth in general. I mean, let's be real for a second. 8 out of our top 10 billionaires are American.
True.
That's not just random luck. There's something about the system here in the U.S. that seems to create this concentration of wealth.
It's like the American dream went into overdrive for a select few.
Yeah.
while everyone else is just trying to keep up.
Exactly. And it goes back to that ripple effect we were talking about before. It's not just about the billionaires themselves, it's the entire system they operate in. The U.S. encourages innovation and risk-taking, which is great, but it's also created this gap between the haves and have-nots, and it keeps getting wider.
It's like we're looking at two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
On one side, you've got this incredible drive and innovation, and on the other side, you've got this growing inequality that's hard to ignore.
That's exactly it. And that's why it's so important to look beyond the individual stories of these billionaires. Their journeys are fascinating, don't get me wrong, but the real takeaway here is understanding what their success says about us as a society.
About our values, our priorities, the systems we've built.
Exactly. This list of the world's richest people, it's a reflection of our values.
And maybe it's a chance to ask ourselves, are these the right values to be prioritizing?
100%. And here's the thing, this list, it's always changing. Think about it. A few decades ago, tech was barely on anyone's radar. Who knows what the future holds? The next generation of billionaires could come from industries we haven't even dreamed up yet.
It's kind of exciting when you think about it, that potential for change, for something completely new.
Exactly. And that's what I love about all of this. The potential for disruption, for innovation, it's always there. It's up to us to look for it, to ask the tough questions, and to never stop exploring what's possible.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, deep divers, it looks like we've reached the surface of this deep dive into the world of billionaires. We've explored their industries, their ambition, and the impact of their wealth on the world. But more importantly, I hope this has sparked some new questions for you. What does it really take to reach this level of success? What responsibilities come with that kind of wealth? And what kind of world do we want to create for the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs? These aren't easy questions, but they're worth asking. So keep those conversations going. Head over to our social media pages and share your thoughts, your takeaways, your burning questions. Until next time, deep divers, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.